With massive layoffs in nearly every sector, weakness in manufacturing, car sales and housing, and the biggest one-month decline in the trade deficit since the financial crisis, the economic picture is not looking good. Bottom line, now is the time to own gold, which is why the experts at Stansberry Research just stepped forward with a major gold prediction, arguing gold could soar as high as $3,000 by the end of the year, possibly even higher. You can find out why and get instant access to their #1 gold investment today. It's not bullion, an ETF, or a mining stock, but in the past, this gold strategy could have made you nearly 50x your money. Considering how quickly the price of gold has been moving in recent weeks, you don't want to waste any time missing out on the gains these experts believe are in store for this gold stock. To get a copy of his new free report with all the details, simply go to goldmaniareport.com. Again, that's goldmaniareport.com for a free copy of his new report.
I think it's a big risk to hold all your assets in US dollars, because I think that the US dollar will become, over time, not tomorrow, but over time, a worthless currency. It doesn't mean that the stock market will go down. When the dollar weakens, it's a symptom of excessive monetary ease, of inflation in the system. And under these conditions, real estate and stocks tend to go up, and of course, foreign exchange rates and precious metals. So my view is that as inflation will reaccelerate in future, that investors should have money outside of the US dollar.
You view central bank digital currencies as being substantially worse than cancer.
Other than nuclear weapons, the worst idea I've ever heard.
A bad idea on steroids.
Terrible move. It's the thing that scares me the most about governments.
The July 20th arrival of the FedNow payment system, and yes, the Fed has made it clear this is not a central bank digital currency, but it's definitely, who can argue against the fact that it's definitely the system needed to welcome a central bank digital currency. So talk to us a little bit about your views on FedNow and whether it's a surefire path to CBDCs.
I'm not sure it's a surefire pass. I don't know how much abuse or potential abuse the citizenry is willing to stomach. I really, truly don't. I actually view this as an existential threat to personal freedom and to personal liberty.
The time to introduce a central bank digital currency would be in an economic crisis. So I suspect it'll be rolled out as a savior to those amongst us that don't know what's going on, and it'll be tied, I think, to potentially a UBI if unemployment is super high.
Let's talk central bank digital currencies. I thought this news item was interesting, that jobs related to central bank digital currencies are popping up across the globe. At least 3 Federal Reserve outposts are actively seeking candidates to join their teams for CBDC research and improving current systems. There are already 3 fully fledged CBDCs out there. There's the Naira in Nigeria, the Sand Dollar in Bahamas, and the Jamdex in Jamaica. So it's interesting now, the FedNow payment system was launched in the US. Yes, it's not a CBDC. Some would argue it's the infrastructure to one. So no surprise that we're going to need people developing central bank digital currencies if this is the future we're headed for.
Oh, there's no question it's the future we're heading. There's no question, while I'm not a huge cryptocurrency fan, I'm certainly not a Bitcoin fan, but I do believe blockchain technology is going to be useful. And one of the things I think that's going to be talked about as we see this BRIC nation stuff develop is you have a great guest, and that's Vince Lancy. And Vince has talked about this digital gold coming alive and how a great way that is going to be for countries to trade and all. And I think that's where the combination of gold and blockchain technology is going to come. And so all these digital and type of talk is real. It's hard for old-fashioned boomers like me to think that pocket money is going to become almost non-existent, but it's the way of the world, and that's where it's going. And you wouldn't have all those job seekings if this wasn't full-fledged ahead, and it is. It's where the world is heading, and whether we like it or not, we got to get used to it.
Are you concerned about central bank digital currencies?
No, I'm concerned that my shoulder still aches a little bit. I'm concerned. I watch Enovix, watch Overstock. I think Trupanion's going to hell in the handbasket, and I love speaking with you. Those are my concerns and issues. All this government stuff in the macro is way over my pay grade, and over time, all these issues, like they were worried about the government defaulting on the debt, and Janet Yellen, who looks like she's had a brain injury, trying to scare everyone. All I said is all this stuff always gets solved, and the can always gets kicked down the road. And it's important not to be too excited, and it's important not to be too negative, because the middle of the road is usually where this all goes.
A good way to, let's say, protest peacefully, which I'm all for, peaceful resistance, is to use cash. And of course, more and more places here or in the U.S., we don't accept cash. Well, that's illegal. So they may not, but you at least can quietly and firmly state the case that you're breaking the law.
Wow.
Oh, no, I'm not. It's company policy.
I did not know that, David.
Oh, yeah. No, this is legal tender for all debts, public and private. It says it right on the doggone thing. And you could tell the manager, you're breaking the law. Oh, no, it's company policy. Company policy does not exceed the law of the land. The law of the land is the Constitution. And by the way, what does it say on this notice? It says for all debts, public and private. I've got a debt to buy this Starbucks, and you've got to accept this. Of course, they'll just back up, and they don't know what to do. But this is what we need to do. We need to push back with logic, sincerity, and the truth.
If they inflate the dollar away, then the little people that try to save money, that don't have sophistication to invest, they're going to get hurt worst. And gold or Bitcoin, and I think Bitcoin actually is a sound form of money. I was a slow adopter of Bitcoin. I didn't get into it until 2017. But both of them, the supplies of gold and Bitcoin are very, very limited, and limited by reality, not by political fiat. So that, sure, backing the dollar with these things would be a great idea. But wait a minute. Why do you have to back the dollar with something? Why don't we just use Bitcoin itself or gold itself and cut out the middleman?
Could there be a world in, you said 2028, in 5 years, where there is where the Bitcoin price is 5 times the price that it is today? I would be disappointed. If Bitcoin only did a 5x in the next 5 years, given the history of Bitcoin and the early stage of adoption where we're at, I would be pretty disappointed. I think it could probably do a little bit better. Am I willing to put a different price target? I just think there's no upside. If you look at the rate of adoption of Bitcoin, we're at a point now where the rate of adoption of Bitcoin is going exponential. You've got BlackRock talking about an ETF. You've got countries adopting it. You've got consumers adopting it and feeling very comfortable to adopt it. You've got, it's becoming a mainstream asset. And if I look at the growth of Bitcoin over the last 5 years and, correlate that to what I think could happen to Bitcoin in the next 5 years, I've got no doubt that the growth of adoption of Bitcoin is going to grow much quicker in the next 5 years than it grew in the last 5 years.
Who in their right mind would sign up for this? I mean, how would this entice me to do this? Why?
Free money. Danielle,
free money. So is it preying on the weakest and the poorest in society?
Yeah. So right now, I think their cryptocurrency is illegal in the United States because it's seen as a security. So the only place, and by the way, they just launched this a couple days ago. And I know they've already gotten, the first day they had 2 million people globally sign up for this.
Wow.
Yeah. And actually, they've got a promo video that people can find online. It's all over Twitter, where they actually show people in Buenos Aires and all these places where they've actually set up an orb. in the local mall, and they show just lines of people. It's usually young people, lines of these people that are just sitting there waiting and just super, super excited to get their eyeball scanned by the orb so they can get their $25 or whatever worth of this cryptocurrency that they think in the future will be worth indefinite UBI. And so what's interesting and actually clever about it, well, in a very evil, genius type of way, is it's a lot like Groupon in the sense that these young people realize that in order to have the highest probability of receiving this UBI indefinitely into the future, they're going to need to get more and more of their friends to do it.
You don't actually really need a tremendous amount of gold in order to back a currency. It would just be how it was valued in terms of that currency. So we will see a gold backing again, because they're going to have to do it in order to get confidence of the population to use the currency, which is what makes what's going on in Zimbabwe so interesting, because they're coming out, they're in the test phase right now to see acceptance of a gold-backed CBDC, except that at least at this point, I have not been able to find where in their documentation they're saying that that CBDC will actually be convertible into gold. And until a currency is actually convertible, how do you know the gold is there? I mean, it's kind of like a crapshoot. So it's really interesting for me to see how this is going to be accepted there. And I'm certain, I am 100% certain, every single central bank is watching this.
So I say to people, I'm not Republican or Democrat, liberal or conservative. I'm a free agent, and I say to people, get back on your own gold standard. Why wait for the government to do it for you?
Yeah.
Just get on your own gold standard. So as you know, Danielle, all of these years, I'm a broken record. Buy gold, buy silver. Not ETFs, buy gold, buy silver, the real stuff.
And I'm going to add, you like Bitcoin too, though.
I like Bitcoin because, we have an enemy in common. It's called the federal government, the Treasury, the Fed, and Wall Street.
Opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the contributor and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of Stansberry Research, its parent company, or affiliates.